Number 5. My brother's wife got a hold of an older gentleman that was giving away free sewing supplies. His wife recently passed and he had no use for it anymore. So she set up a day to swing by and pick them up. Well, she ended up having to work, so she asked my brother and I to go do it in the afternoon. We finally find the address and it's in the middle of nowhere down a long, winding dirt road. Now remember, the guy was expecting my brother's wife to be coming, not us. So we get up to the door and it's open with a screen door. As we knocked, we noticed him behind the computer, like right in front of the door. And he says, "Yes, come in." So we proceed in and he's still sitting down. From where we were at, it just looked like he had no shirt on. Well, he proceeded to stand up to reveal his old naked body. The first words that came out of my mouth was, "Yeah, never mind, we'll be back later," only saying that to get the fuck up out of there. Instantly, the man was like, "Sorry, I like to be nude in the summer." I look over to my brother with a, like bullshit, this guy is sitting here naked waiting for your wife kind of look. My brother just said simply, "Do you have the stuff?" The man replied with a nod and went and retrieved the boxes. As he's trying to hand them over, he's hanging them low right next to his genitalia. We finally get the boxes from him and very awkwardly. And as we were walking out, more like running, the whole time I was yelling at my brother like, "Why the fuck did we stay and get this shit in the first place?" We peeled out of his driveway and rallied down the dirt road quicker than you can say pervert.
Number 4.
Last year I was looking for a house. I looked and called person after person. Finally, I looked on Craigslist and found a place that was about 2 miles from where I lived and who said large dogs were okay. So I called the number and left my name and number and asked them to call me back. About 2 minutes after I left the voicemail, I got a call from a lady saying that she got my message about the house. She gave me the address to the house and her name and her friend's name, Chris. The lady told me that Chris would meet me at the house and let me look around. It was about 7:15 at night and nearly dark outside, but the lady said, "Is there any way you can come over now to look at the house? My friend is leaving out of town tonight and won't be back to show the house for a few weeks." I thought it was strange, but I wanted the house, so I said I'd be over there in 20 minutes. So I called my mum up and told her the phone numbers, names and address of the house I was going to look at. I also told her that I was about 5 minutes away and that if I didn't call back in 20 minutes to call the cops. I told her that if I got killed, they were the ones who did it. So I pulled up to the house and saw a guy by the door. He was about 40, creepy and weird, and looked like a tweaker. He unlocked the door and let me in and showed me the place. The place was a piece of shit. There were handprints on the walls, dirty carpet, no fridge, no washer, foot-high grass in the backyard. It smelt like mold in the place. It was bad. Well, he handed me the lease and said it was $900 a month for the rundown 2-bedroom house. He also said it was $100 for every day I was late on the rent. I told him no and half ran out of the house. Well, 2 weeks later I was driving around the same neighbourhood and saw that the for rent house was completely gutted and had a bunch of people working in the yard. I walked up and asked to talk to Chris, the owner, and the worker told me that the owner wasn't back. Basically, I met the owner, who wasn't this guy Chris, and he told me he never put the house on Craigslist in the first place, and that he was out of town. He said that the guy must have been trying to get money off of me. I told him that the guy had a key. He said the key was in a mailbox, so that's probably where he got it from.
Number 3.
My wife had advertised a rowing type machine on Craigslist. So this mid-40s dude comes over to the house when I'm at work, to check the machine out. He asks questions about it and tells her he's not sure how it works, then asks her to show him. So she gets on the machine and starts to basically do a workout demo. He makes things stretch out by continuing to ask her about the machine and the workout related questions as she's rowing. He suddenly stops and asks if he can use the restroom. He goes in and stays, and stays, and stays. And then suddenly he comes out and abruptly leaves the house. Now, of course, my wife knows something's up because he was in there so long and left so oddly, but she can't figure out what he did. Weird. She's messaging me on the phone as she's trying to figure it out, and my first thought was my meds. She counts them and it looks like he might have taken some of my Xanax, but no big deal. She didn't get murdered at least. Then I get a text series like, "Oh my gosh, I just found my razor. Was it missing? It has shit and blood all over the handle."
Number 2.
If you've been reading here over the last few weeks, you know that I've been selling my belongings by having garage sales and listing items on Craigslist. We've all heard those horror stories about the Craigslist killer and other crazies, but I kind of felt invisible to that. Like, really, who does that happen to anyway? I've been having such good experiences selling my items on Craigslist, and most people have been really receptive to my intention to travel the world. I didn't really think anything could happen. While I took precautions by meeting people at nearby gas stations, there were some items I had to sell from my house, such as my skateboard mini ramp. They are just too big to carry over to the gas station a few houses down. My massage table was another one of those items, which leads me to tell the story of the Craigslist Psycho. I've had 2 massage tables listed on Craigslist for a few weeks now, and while I've had a lot of interest in them, I had yet to seal the deal. Don't ask me how I got 2 massage tables because I'm not a masseuse and I've never used them. I also didn't buy them, but somehow I ended up with them. How? I'm not really quite sure myself. Anyway, enters Paul. Paul called me on Monday night and inquired about my portable massage table for sale. He seemed like a nice guy. After giving him details about the table, he mentioned that he wanted to come by around 6 PM on Tuesday to see it. He then told me he'd call me around 5:30 and get directions. Sounds great. Tuesday came along and Paul called me at 5:30 to get directions to my house. I gave them and he arrived. I pulled the table out of the garage and opened it for him. He asked me a few questions about the table as he checked it out. I offered to bring it out into the driveway where there was more light to check out the table, but he declined. I asked him if he'd like me to completely set up the table again, and he declined as well. He then offered me $100, half of my asking price, and I quickly quipped $125. I decided to take the lower offer because the table is missing the headpiece and leg extensions, both of which he can buy online. We talked about this as he was looking at it. He asked about the headrest, and it was obvious by quick inspection, and in the photographs on the ad, that the table didn't have the extensions. He thought for a moment and then agreed. He handed me the money and then folded back up the massage table and went on his way. I went back inside and instantly took the ad off Craigslist and tweeted, "Just sold my massage table for $125. An hour later, I get a phone call from an irate Paul. Rather than being nice like a normal person, he jumps my ass about how unethical I am and how I deceived him into buying a massage table with sawed-off legs. I had to take a moment before responding. I was a little taken aback by his in-your-face confrontational language. I calmly stated that the legs were not sawed off and that I did not deceive him as he was there to inspect this purchase before buying. I also mentioned that the missing parts were available on the manufacturer's website or by calling. Again, Paul chewed my ass out. After listening to him call me every name in the book and assassinate my character, I asked him what he'd like me to do. He mentioned that he wanted to bring it back and get a refund. I said, "I can't deal with this right now. I'm about to walk out the door. Call me tomorrow before 7. I instantly got on Twitter and Facebook and asked advice about if I should give a refund or not. Almost everybody said no, which is how I felt. However, I also don't want to make some random guy really angry. I talked with my friend and we came up with a plan. I would tell him that I wouldn't give him a refund and see how he reacted. If he threw a fit, I'd offer to give him $20 back as a compromise. If that didn't work, then I'd give him a full refund. I wanted both Paul and I to be happy with the outcome. Enter Wednesday. I'm on a Skype call to another friend when I get a call from Paul. I ignore it, telling my friend that I'll deal with it later. I then ask my friend what I should do about the situation to get more advice before I talk to Paul again. We talk about it for a little bit, and then I hear someone in my driveway. Remembering my front door is wide open, I jump up and go to close and lock the door. I also shut the blinds in the process so he can't see inside my place. For reference, I live in a garage apartment, so it has its own building like a house, but above a 4-car garage with neighbours in the front house. Paul came over uninvited, without warning, and that was unacceptable in my book. I planned on not being home. Bad plan. Paul immediately began banging on my door with force, so much that I thought he was going to beat it down. No, he didn't start by politely knocking softly and trying to work things out peacefully like a sane person would. He was beating down my fucking door. My entire apartment echoed. I'm not exaggerating when I say he was beating it in with everything he had in him. I sat there in silence on the Skype call with my friend. I was in complete shock. "What do I do?" I whispered. Like, seriously, what the fuck do I do? "Ignore it, don't answer, hopefully he'll just go away." "Do you hear that? Can you hear it? It's like my whole fucking apartment is shaking." Oh my gosh, he's screaming now. He's walking around my apartment. Shit, he's banging on my neighbour's house now. What do I do? He's banging on my neighbour's house. What kind of person does that? What the hell? He's calling me. Do I answer? No, I'm not going to answer. Oh my gosh. I hope he just goes away. I had 1,000 thoughts running through my head, including how much of a dumbass I was for having this transaction at my house. Threatened to call the cops if he doesn't leave. Call them. He's circling my house, banging on all the garage doors. I'm going to go talk to him through the window. Hold on, stay right there. I walk into the living room and open the blinds just enough to open the window from the second floor and ask him what the fuck he's doing. Before I even get a chance to open my mouth, he begins screaming at me. "Come down here right now and give me my money back. You deceived me. What kind of person are you?" "Paul, what are you doing at my house? You can't just come over without letting me know beforehand and start beating doors down. I don't even know you. When we talked on the phone yesterday, you said we were meeting at 6 p.m. and that you would give me my money back so I could give it back. I tried to do something nice for you, Jenny, and called the manufacturer to see if they would sell me the legs, but they wouldn't. First off, we do not have a set time to meet. I told you to call me. I never said anything about meeting or if I was willing to give a refund. Secondly, I called the manufacturer too and they told me you can buy the missing parts for $10. That's when Paul got really mad. Like, really mad. "I'm going to sue you. I record all of your phone calls so I have evidence." "You record our calls? Why don't you listen to them then? You can see I didn't call and tell you I'd refund your money or that we were meeting at my house today." "I'm going to get my money back one way or another. I'm going to sue you. In fact, I'm going to sit on your doorstep until you come out and I'm going to get my money. I know you have to leave at 7 PM, so then you'll come out. I'll be here all night, waiting for my money. Paul, please leave my house, you're scaring me. I feel threatened right now by you, and if you don't leave, I'm going to call the police. Go ahead, call them, I don't care. They'll just come here and tell you to give me my money back. Okay, Psycho, that's what I'm gonna do. I picked up my phone and called 911. Hello, 911? Yes, I have an intruder trapping me inside my house. This entire time, Paul is pacing under the window right outside my neighbour's door and or banging on the garage door of my house. The 911 operator then asked me the general information like where do you live, what does the suspect look like, and do you know them? I gave them a quick recap saying that I sold him an item off Craigslist yesterday. He came back uninvited today, began banging on the door with force to break it down, circling my building, banging on everything, and told me he was trapping me inside. They told me they were dispatching an officer when the phone disconnected. I then told Paul the cops were on their way, shut the window blinds, and went back to my bedroom. My friend was waiting for me. I called the cops, they're on their way. Do you hear him banging on the doors? It's so loud. He's going to come in here. I'm actually getting scared now. He's circling my apartment, beating on everything. What the fuck is he doing? What a psycho. Does he really think beating on my apartment is going to make me want to come outside and talk to him? Seriously, who does that? I just kept repeating myself over and over to my friend, telling him what Paul was doing. The cops are on their way, right? Just stay calm. I have to let you go. I need to take care of this. I'm freaking out right now. I'm about to have a meltdown. I need to make some phone calls. Okay, send me a message to let me know how it all turns out. I'm worried about you. Will do. I then called 911 again. Yes, I just called in a report of an intruder when the phone disconnected. I need to know that you have an officer on the way. Yes, an officer is en route to your place and they should be there within 20 minutes depending on how far away they are. Can they get here any faster? This guy's beating down my house. Just stay calm, stay inside, and wait for the officer to arrive. Okay, thanks. The cops were taking forever, at least over 20 minutes. I called Curtis, my ex. He wasn't close by and couldn't come, so I got on Twitter and started typing of my situation to vent. By this time I was scared shitless. Now I'm a pretty tough girl. I'm not one to just call 911 for just any reason. I don't take that lightly. I felt seriously threatened and like my life was in danger. I had tears running down my face. I was freaking the fuck out. I was trapped inside my house and some really angry stranger was making these constant loud noises like he was about to come inside and do evil things to me. It wasn't like the guy was just knocking loudly either. He was beating down the garage door like he was going to come in and rip me to shreds. It was so loud it was echoing through my entire apartment. I knew my neighbours were thinking, what the fuck is going on? I texted them not to go outside and that the cops were en route. I later talked to my neighbour and he didn't come outside to tell him to leave because he thought it was a personal dispute, not a psycho. He didn't want to get in the middle of a lover situation or something like that. I kept peeking out the window waiting for the cops to arrive. Paul could see me sometimes. Paul then called my phone several times. I didn't answer. Finally, I got tired of it and answered. What? Do you have any intention of giving me my money back? No, not anymore. I did, until you came to my house uninvited and began threatening me. Then, I heard those magical words. The cops are here. I immediately hung up and went to the window. Paul was still pacing and talking on the phone, which made me giggle in the midst of my tears as he babbled to nobody. He then ran over to the cop and walked with him up the driveway to explain his side of the story. I watched out the window. When the cop was near my door, I went to the window and opened it. Will you come down and talk to me? Is it safe? Yes. I walked down my stairs and the cop came inside my stairwell where he talked to me in private. He asked me to explain the situation, which I did. I'll spare you the rerun of the details. The cop explained that this was a civil matter and that if he wanted to press charges against me, he'd have to take me to the small claims court. With tears still coming down my face, I said, "I don't care. It's not like he'll win anyways. He just came and looked at the table and bought it as is. There's no refunds. I was going to give him a refund anyway, but he just came over uninvited and just started going psycho." "I agree. You buy it, it's yours. Do you want him off your property?" "Yes, please. He's scaring me." "Okay, I'm going to ask him to leave." "But he knows where I live. I'm afraid he's going to come back. I don't feel safe here." "I'm going to explain to him that if he comes back on this property, he will get a criminal offense charge against him. I think he'll leave you alone." "Okay, thanks. Now go back inside and know that I have this taken care of." I went back inside and within 5 minutes I heard Paul's car leaving my driveway and unblocking my car from leaving. I grabbed my skateboard and jumped in my truck and left just a few minutes later. I wasn't about to stick around. Curtis called me and told me he would meet me at my place and get my things when I was done skating so that I didn't have to sleep there. I happily agreed. The next day when I came home, the garage door looked tampered with a little bit, but everything seemed to be in order. Around 5 PM I got a call from a buyer wanting to buy a portable massage table. The table's ad in which I had already removed from Craigslist that Paul bought. "Yes, I'm calling about the portable massage table." "I sold that one already, but I have a regular one for sale." "Oh, I was looking for a portable one. Did you get $150 for it?" "That's what I want to pay, $150. Did you get that much?" "That's how much I'll pay if you still have it." "Yep, got $150 for it, already sold." "Okay, bye." Nice try, Paul.
Number 1.
Alright, I got a prime story that made me learn a lot about using Craigslist. First off, I grew up in a small rural town when I moved to Southern California for college. So this is just after the new iPhone had come out and I desperately wanted one. So I found an ad on Craigslist for a guy selling his for about $50 cheaper than everyone else's ads. I give the guy a call and he tells me that his company has switched to using Blackberries and he has no need for the iPhone now. So I agreed to meet up with him, since he seemed to have a fairly straightforward story. Or at least it sounded that way. So given I'm not familiar with the LA area, I drive up and get off on Crenshaw Boulevard on the northeast side. I drive up about a block from the 405 and take a left and park in front of this big low-income apartment complex. This is in the middle of the day right next to a busy street. Now, the neighborhood wasn't that bad, but I'm a big dude, so I figure I'll be alright. I finally get a hold of the supposed business dude, which turns out to be a little dude that's dressed in baggy jeans and a big white t-shirt, along with another dude dressed the same. Now, while I was sitting in my truck waiting for this guy to show up, I see a guy sitting over in a blue Ford Focus just staring at me, grinning the entire time, which creeped me out and already made me feel uneasy about the situation. Once I saw the business guy, I knew something wasn't right and decided to get out of there as fast as possible. So I started to walk back to my truck, telling him I'm going to grab my cash for the iPhone. But when I get back to my truck and try to put my keys in the ignition, the other little dude jumps into my passenger side and sticks a gun in my waist, saying, "No, homie, you ain't leaving. Gonna need everything you got." Now this was probably stupid on my part, but seeing how this kid was holding the gun almost clumsily and it looked more like a metal airsoft gun as opposed to a real gun, I decided to reach across, open the door and shove him out. I did it so quickly he didn't have time to react and was already outside my passenger door banging on the glass to let him back in. I figured I was good to go now and could get the hell out of there. But oh no. So I'm assuming when the second guy got thrown out, I was so focused on him I didn't realise the first guy went to go get about 5 or 6 of his much bigger buddies, which were now all at my driver's side window, which was over halfway down. As I turned my head towards them, they all just started reaching into my window, throwing punches, trying to grab me and pull me out. after which seemed like forever of me trying to dodge punches and still trying to get my keys into the ignition to maybe get my truck going to get the hell out of there, but it was no good. After a few good hits, they connected with my head and I started to see stars. I got dazed and decided as a last-ditch effort to throw the cash I had for the iPhone all over the ground outside behind them. They immediately stopped attacking me and ran around picking up all the bills, which gave me the opportunity to get the hell out of there. I did go down a few blocks, and realizing I couldn't even see straight, I called the LA County Sheriff, which they came and thought I was a part of some big drug deal gone bad. But it ended up these tweakers did the same thing to 8 other victims and stole their licenses, saying if they went to the police they would kill their families. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoyed the video, and make sure you hang around for more videos, as there'll be plenty more to come.